And what happens is that the men come super close to the stage. There have been situations where they've thrown money on stage.
In the client servicing, they would ask them to dress up nicely when they're client meetings.
I was a beautiful, glamorous belly dancer by night and a very, very rowdy, fellow through the day.
Okay, guys. Hi. So, Symbol this side, and you are most welcome to the the new episode of It's Quite Symbol, and it's called Been There, Done That. The entire episode is about how inspiring women like you have moved away from the traditional ideas of a career or a profession or a 9-to-5 job, so to speak. And, you're paving a path for yourselves and you're doing so great as that you are. And all of you are from very different fields. And I would love to know more. And I think all of us would love to learn from each other and understand, what are you guys doing? What are the kind of challenges you face? How has your journey been like? And that's pretty much what it's going to be about. It's like a nice conversation that we're having a ladies' night. So what I'll do is I have been an advertising professional for 8 years. Then I authored a book. And then now I've left my job and I've decided to do freelance. I've recently started learning Reiki. So I'm really excited to explore that field. And I am glad that each one of you has taken out time from your busy schedule. And I really am grateful for that. And I'm going to hand it over to you guys now. So you guys can introduce yourselves and we'll then start from there. Yeah.
So hi everyone, really nice to be here. My name is Gunjan Menon and I am a storyteller actually by profession. I make wildlife films and I focus on conservation, communities, human interest stories. And I'm currently a National Geographic explorer working on my first feature-length film. And really happy to be here. Thank you.
That's wow. Thank you, Gunjan. That's amazing. Who wants to go next? Meher, you, Siny?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. I find introductions weird now. I think this is where I am in life. I feel like every time I give an introduction, the next day somebody asks me for an introduction, it's not the same introduction anymore. So I think I would put myself as a seeker who's on a journey to discover truly why I'm here in this human body in the world. But for the time being, while I'm still figuring that out, I'm a movement artist. I'm a self-healing coach, and for a very long time, which almost seems like a past life, I have been a belly dancer.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Meher. Meher has concised her entire journey into 3 things, but I have seen her just like do so many things over the years. So it makes sense that every time you give an introduction, it's something new. And Siny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So hi, I'm Siny. I'm Siny Maria Skaria. I'm currently settled in Kerala. I've been born and raised in Delhi, and I'm currently pursuing my research work. I'm a PhD scholar, and my interest areas are mostly about people who live on the peripheries, so to say, of these mainstream societies like we call ourselves. And there are people, the marginalized and those at the peripheries. So I'm interested to know on how they're doing, what their lives are all about. So yes, so my research is all about the reproductive health of female migrant workers who've been working in Cochin for quite some time now. So yeah, and I also am part of a band actually. I do a little bit of singing. I don't think Symbol, yesterday when we spoke, I did not really mention about it. So yes, we have a band back in Delhi. So yeah, and we do concerts every now and then, some in India and some in a couple of other countries that we've done.
That's amazing. So, you should sing before we end this conversation.
Sure, I would love
it. For sure. Yes, Gunjan, please go ahead.
No, I was just curious, what genre do you play? What's your band called?
Yeah, my band is called Acts of the Apostles. It's a gospel band. And
wow.
yeah. So we have a lot of people in our band who, some of them are full-time musicians, while the others are also from other professions. For example, one is the bass player of our band is a chartered accountant by profession, and another one is a software engineer, and I myself am a research scholar. And then there are others who are full-time musicians. So yeah, when we're not doing what we do, we're jamming together, we're singing, and yeah, we're reaching out to people.
Amazing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, great, guys. Great, lovely introductions. Basically, see, the whole idea of this podcast is to enable people who are listening to this and, make them understand that you don't need to have a certain, carved out path for yourself in terms of the stereotypes that are defined by the society. When I started off, my mom was like taken aback. My parents were taken aback that I didn't take science because every Kerala girl, you have to be a nurse or a doctor, right? So I was moving away from that, and I'm sure so were all of you. And it was I don't know about your parents, but from where I came from, it was very challenging for them. So I moved away from that, and I think now where I am, I'm so proud of where I've come, how far I've come, and how I decided to not settle for the I did the 9 to 5 job, to be honest, for the longest of time, but I still found different ways to kind of save through that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you the simple question. I don't know if you guys have worked in corporate or not. If you have, would you like to just say 1 or 2 lines about what your experience was like?
So I haven't worked with any corporates, but as a performer, because I've been performing for many, many years now, I've performed for corporates.
Oh.
And it has been, so that means that a lot of stage shows for these, their annual functions, or, when they're giving awards within the company, or, whatever, it has been great for the most part, because, they give you the respect you deserve. They give you, everything's put together in a very corporate way. Okay. But at the same time, I think some of my worst performance experiences have been performing for the corporates, because already there's a huge ratio difference between man is to woman, which means that you're seeing, in the space, if there are like 100 people, out of that, like 90 are men and 10 are women, and sometimes even lesser. And one of the things that's really normal at these corporate functions is for people to just get really drunk, So there's like no boundaries anymore. And what happens is that the men come super close to the stage. There have been situations where they've thrown money on stage.
Yes. Oh my God. These are big corporations.
There were times that it was so disappointing. Such big companies, and I don't want to take names right now because I'm totally over it. But such big companies, such big names. And then, like in the middle of the performance, these people are coming on stage. They're trying to come close to the dancers, like they're trying to access the dancers physically. So some situations have been horrible. And like I've had to almost like pull away the mic from the MC and like call out the public and the company, like really call them out and say that, don't you really have women in the house and you don't know how to respect them? And then you'd have the MD of the company coming backstage and apologizing on behalf of everyone. And then, so there have been times I've also sued for damages, for defamation, for, and asked for double the payment, because, not because you need the money, but because people should pay for what they're, for how they're behaving. Absolutely. And sometimes I've even walked off from performances halfway through. So done 2 sets, but then not done the other 2 sets and just walked off. So I haven't worked in a corporate, but I think this was probably worse than that. Mostly these medium-sized, not super known corporates were well-behaved, but the biggest names somehow had people that behaved in the worst way. It was quite unbelievable.
It's honestly, it's just not even surprising anymore. It's because I come from advertising, and in advertising, there are no boundaries. There are absolutely no boundaries. They will talk to you like they own you. They'll just talk to you like that, and I think they would expect like women in the client servicing they would ask them to dress up nicely when they're client meetings, and they'd be like dress up nicely, okay, you have a meeting tomorrow and wo tujhe bahut pasand karta hai.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's how they would talk to those women, and I would say like, why don't you give them back? but people are so scared of losing their jobs. See, that's the whole point. People are so scared that they think that there is no other option. There's no other way out. And they can't even speak back.
Yeah, that's horrible that you get stuck in that culture. And even I haven't directly done a 9 to 5 job except for internships, but I have, before becoming a full-time wildlife filmmaker, I used to work on corporate projects like these boring corporate videos, or I know the advertising culture that you're talking about. It's a very toxic culture, or even like celebrity films, celebrity videos, music videos. It's somehow a given that you have to suck it up, and just because your senior went through a lot while growing up in the industry, you're supposed to be in a toxic work culture and learn the hard way. And I just don't get it. Like, why does the culture have to be toxic? Why can't you create a nurturing environment for those who are coming in? And why do they say I had to face this, so we're just toughening you up? No, we don't need, like, we have toughened up enough growing up as a woman in India. So I don't think we need like people to just be mean on sets. It's not okay anymore. And I think now at a point where I am in my career, I make sure that the newcomers feel a little bit more welcome. There's a more nurturing, more mentorships involved, and we don't follow the same pattern of a toxic culture for no reason. That's the biggest weirdest thing about corporate setups for me.
You get to make a choice now that you don't follow the same archaic thoughts that they were.
Yeah, and the abuse doesn't need to always become the abuser. You can become someone. It's
absolutely. There's this whole idea of this victim mentality that, okay, this has happened, and once I met this guy and he said that you need to be bullying is good because it teaches you how to survive, and it got me thinking that's how these guys function, right? They think that, okay, if I've gone through this. In fact, one of my bosses she said that to me once, and she was so mean and horrible to me, and I cried and I went to her. It was my first job, and she said that this is what I've gone through, and you have to go through that, otherwise you will never be on top. What about you, Siny? You have been in a corporate setup, right?
Yeah, actually, it's not a corporate per se, but I have been in a 9 to 5 job, and though it never worked like a corporate, but there were many things that were very similar to a corporate. Like, there were targets, and it was like, in a way, profit driven. And what put me off was the fact that after a point, I realized there was a lot of hierarchy and a lot of power play in it, and that really, because that is not where I come from, that's not who I am, and I really couldn't take it. I had a very hard time questioning and trying to understand what this was all about. And all the time, I was told that no, you shouldn't speak up. This is how things are. Just take it and continue working. And then I decided that I really did not want to work in such an environment. There was a point where I was given a lot of responsibility, but no power was given to me. And by power, I mean, I need a team to work with me. I need a lot of, I need a good team to be working with me. But somehow, due to this power play and a lot of politics that was going on, I was the one at the receiving end. I understood it at a very later point. But every time I went on to question this, I was asked to just, just keep quiet and never go and ask, never question. Yeah, and that is something that I just couldn't take. And so I just decided, and that's when my PhD thing came along. It was my guide. I'm extremely fond of him, actually. All respect to him. So he just contacted me and asked me, that I have a vacancy, I have a slot available with me for a scholar. Would you be interested to join? And I was super happy, and I just thought that this is my opportunity to just get out of this this environment. And also it had been a long desire in me to to just pursue my PhD, because I always believe that research is the highest form of learning. And so yes, that's how this happened. I came in from there to here, and yeah, it's an ongoing process now. Yeah.
So guys, like all of you do things that you've been exploring things on your own, right? You've been trying different things, and I am and I'm realizing that for the first time, because suddenly I realize I don't have a team to fall back on. That's what corporate kind of makes you used to. That you take just one part of the problem and you solve it, the rest someone else will take over. Now, obviously, I've made that leap of faith now, and I've started doing freelancing. So I realized that okay, from the start to the end, it has to be me. The days I don't get up and work, the work doesn't get done. It's simply put. So this segment I call it the Shakti woman quote. But basically, what is that thing that keeps you going? And I'm sure with between meeting friends to taking care of family to doing all the amazing things that women do in a day, how do you take out time, or how do you get that motivation, all the fields, like even for Gunjan to step out and do things that you do outside, for Meher to try so many things that I'm still catching up with, and for Siny, you also to manage going back to studying with your kids and with your family and everything that is around. What is that one thing that keeps all of you going on days when it just doesn't feel like it? To be very honest, I have those days a lot more than I should, but I really need some just some
I don't have a quote, but I have a hack that I do whenever I'm feeling really down. I just go out in nature, sit next to a tree and bathe in the forest. Like just talk to trees, talk to any insects around me, talk to animals, and it just refreshes me, puts things into perspective that it's okay. We don't need to keep running after something. When the time is right, things will happen. It's okay to take it slow. Just, these trees, there are some ancient trees next to my house that have lived for 1,000 years, and they have so many stories, so many people they've seen. They're still there, and just it's a very humbling experience, and it shows you that it's okay to not keep running. It's, I think, a capitalist corporate setup that's taught us to always keep running after your goals, always like have these have this fast paced life. But it's okay to slow down sometimes. Of course, like it's really hard sometimes when you have deadlines, and like you said, you're a one-man army. I read this quote that I left my 9 to 5 job and now I work 24/7, and that is so true. It's literally my husband just moved on to a 9 to 5 job after, like, we've always freelanced ever since we got out of college, but for the first time he's working a full-time job, and he actually gets to finish something and come home and not think about work. But I feel like I'm working all the time, and you tend to think that people who don't work a 9 to 5 job have more free time, or they have time for themselves. But it's the other way. You're like your harshest boss. It's but yeah, then you need to really. Sorry.
I'm saying that's the biggest mythbuster. I just realized it 2 months back, because I'm like, "Acha, ab to aaram karungi." I'm gonna like I'm gonna work 3 hours and then I'm gonna chill. 3 hours I'm worrying about the work that lies ahead, and then I start.
Even when you're chilling, then your head is thinking about all the work that you're not doing. And then to separate yourself from that, I really need my nature time. So I make sure I go out with my camera. I make sure even if there's no work, I just step out. And when it gets too difficult, I just.
But there's a quote that I as a child, and one of my mother's friends wrote to me on a birthday card. And ever since I've been giving interviews, or ever since I've been giving autographs to little girls or children, or wherever I've done performances and things after television, etc., it was one that always came out of my being, and it was be like a rose that yields perfume even to the hands that crush it.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
and this one really hits home for me because you asked us about where do you get that strength from when everything's just too much and you're overwhelmed with everything. I think that the true essence of me can only come through when I am in an experience like that. Because it's very easy to be happy and calm and relaxed and fulfilled when everything around you is going perfectly or close to perfectly. But when shit's going down or when shit's hitting the roof, one of those things, I think that's when I really ask myself, who am I? What do I want to pour into the world right now when I'm really suffering? So I think for me, just like, Gunjan shared how nature's medicine for her, it is for me too, absolutely. But I think a lot of spending time in some way of reflection, I'm a student I just finished my graduation in Buddhist philosophy and I start my master's in September, hoping someday to bring together a PhD of movement and Buddhist philosophy together. Let's see, inshallah, it might happen. But I recognize that the deeper I go into philosophical studies, the more I take myself less seriously. And then you realize that the world doesn't revolve around you. You're just like this one speck.
Yeah.
And when you realize that you're this one speck, you can take those shitty days less seriously also.
Yeah.
And then and then if you've really gone deeper into your own essence, you realize, okay, it's a bad day, but how can I still put out my fragrance in the world? That's it. So as simple as that. As simple or as difficult as that.
Yeah. Simply put, difficult to practice maybe, but I think it comes naturally when it comes to you. I think that's what it is. What about you, Siny? What keeps you going?
Yeah, actually, it's been very beautifully put by both Gunjan and Meher. I would actually borrow some of their points, but for me, what keeps me going is that every day is new, and that I learn something new every day from the people around me. And there are days when I am super down. Like one of those was today. I kept telling my husband, I just feel so blah, and I want to go out, I want to do something. I just don't feel like it. And I think that's when I have 3 lovely kids. Okay, so they're a blessing. They're a big blessing because seeing them, seeing their smiles and their innocence, it just gives me a lot of energy back. So whenever I feel low, my youngest one is just 5 months old. Okay, and when I see him, he's just looking at me so hopefully. That gives me a lot of, it makes me feel energetic that there is somebody who depends on me, who loves me so much, and for whom I am the world. So, I got to get back up and keep moving. And,
Lovely.
and yeah. And I always keep reminding myself on days that are not really good that this too is a phase and this too shall pass, And सब कुछ एक सेम नहीं रहेगा, अच्छा भी नहीं रहेगा हमेशा और बुरा भी नहीं रहेगा. It'll keep moving. So I think we keep moving along with it. So yeah, that's what I feel.
You guys do said such inspiring things. I just go to sleep and I wake up 2-3 hours later and I feel okay. Okay, I think it was just a dream. That's how I get over it. But yeah, that's the whole idea that you all spoke of such different things, but it makes so much sense in its own context. I will stop saying because in my last podcast I kept saying and people pointed it out. They're like, you have said we can count it how many times. So I'm gonna every time I just say it, I'm gonna get it edited this time. So yeah, you don't know. You don't know. Okay. So girls, I'm gonna come to something a little bit more serious, so to speak, because again, though we touched upon it when Meher also spoke of performing in corporate events, how the kind of challenges especially women face, because we there are a lot of stereotypes, and I'm so grateful that we've come such a long way, but the journey is, you know, still longer ahead. And in your specific fields, you know, what are the kind of challenges that you face? Are there specifically for being a woman, you know, but does your gender you know, come in between certain opportunities that you get, or you know, challenges that you face? Of course, this had to be one of the segments in this conversation. I mean, come on, it had to be there. So, so you know, anything that you face. Like, I also spoke of agency, because in agencies, you know, one of the guys told me that I spoke to him, and someone must have suggested me to him, and he said, "Arey, I've heard great things about you. I've heard तू लड़कों की तरह काम करती है." मैंने बोला, अच्छा. I said, what does that mean? So apparently he meant that I can work late nights, and that is supposed to be लड़कों के जैसे काम करना. I said, I told him, मैंने 8 साल काम किया, आपने वो सब मिट्टी में मिला दिया एक लाइन में कि लड़कों की तरह का. Like, my identity is that if I'm doing something good, it's because I can work late nights, and that's a very boy, like a man trait. So what are the kind of challenges you know you guys face in your daily work, or some special instances?
You know, I honestly feel like, I mean, I'm not a feminist. Yeah, I'm not a feminist. Because I believe that any ist puts me really into a system, puts me into a closed box. And I realize that it is the women in my family that are spoiling the men. And so it's the system.
Yeah.
And because I work in the field of healing, I recognize that till we keep rejecting the masculine, until the masculine keeps rejecting the woman, which is to make statements like the statement you heard, we can never fully heal. Because inside me is the essence of a man and a woman who made me together.
Yes.
And so my body physically looks like the body of a woman, yes, but inside me, the essence is of both. I have been raised by both. In some families, of course, the mother is more present, the father is less present, or whatever, so on and so forth. And these structures can change. In today's world, there are a lot of same-gendered families where both the parents are either women or both the parents are men. So either way, you are still going to be, you know, experiencing some masculine traits and some feminine traits. And in all totality, the masculine also has their light and shadow traits, and the female also has the light and shadow traits. I work with a lot of women. So and when you ask, you know, how does it feel in that field, being a woman, my world is the world of women. For the longest time, I have identified as a belly dancer. So 9.9 out of 10 people coming to me are women.
Yeah.
So I know the stories they carry and the patterns they want to stay in and not get out of. I'm independent. I want to do things on my own. But, you know, this relationship with this guy is not working because, you know, he's not doing much with his life, or he's not earning enough.
Yeah.
So why aren't you earning enough? Or why aren't you doing the things that you want to do? Yeah. And you see, this is biologically how our system is. We are, through our evolution, this is what the woman did. She took care of the home, she took care of the children, the man went out. So we're still carrying these very old school biological archetypes. But we also want the kind of freedom, and, you know, we want this liberation, and we want this quote unquote equality, which I also don't feel is the essence of this whole battle, because at the end of the day, we're unique. Each one of us is unique. So there is no equality because everybody is unique. So I think that for me, because being in the world of women, I haven't had that experience. On the other hand, it's been more like, okay, if she's a belly dancer, then she can offer us something else. It's always been like that. Yeah, there's always been this background dialogue.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realized that this power and this position is in my hands, how I carry myself. When I would compare myself to other women in a certain sense of, okay, why is she having these experiences? I could very honestly, truthfully see the pattern she's carrying, the trauma she's carrying, the triggers she's carrying. And so you can see that human being more holistically versus saying कि औरत के साथ ऐसे experience होता है. पूरा system ऐसा है. उस system के अंदर toxic masculinity भी है. उसी same system के अंदर victimized औरतें भी हैं who continue to victimize themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so the whole dialogue has to shift. And for this dialogue to shift, men and women need to really evolve to be able to support each other, understand each other. It's not a man versus woman game.
Specific instance that I want to share is about, when I was, when I had to take maternity leave, and there was a comment that was passed by some men, some people, on how this is like a sabbatical and how, you would, apne sabbatical enjoy kiya hoga. And they were just, having this joke among themselves. And I so wanted to say, the good girl that I am, I just kept quiet and did not talk about it. But I really wanted to tell them that it is anything else but a sabbatical. Please, let's just switch roles. I would love for you to just experience or just refresh your memory on how it feels, because these were like elder, like men who had gone past this phase.
The idea of women, taking maternity leaves and, coming back to work after that has to be handled with much more understanding and empathy. Because मुझे नहीं लगता है कि, if a woman disappears from a team, it'll fall flat. But you need to respect what she brings to the table. And if, she's going through something, a very big event in her life, that needs to be respected and, treated accordingly. So yeah, Gunjan, what about you?
In my profession, I think because it's an outdoor profession, it's always been very male dominated. So for a long time, women have been trying to catch up to men. They've been like trying to match up, and we've been working extra hard to try and prove ourselves. But I think what we didn't realize is that we don't need to prove ourselves to be as good as men. We bring different things to the table. Like we don't need to carry 30 kgs on our back just to show that we are equally fit for the job. You work out, you bring maybe an emotional side to the story, you bring your own sets, and if you can carry, then good enough. But we don't need to go out into the field, hurt ourselves in order to just try and prove that we are as good as men. And as good as men, that is just not needed, because it's so different. We bring different things to the table. And you were talking about feminism here. I think the most important thing for me about feminism is letting women know what they like, just letting women be. And a lot of this gets fogged by the terminology, but the essence, the core essence, is just giving them an opportunity to be who they want to be. And that gets just taken in the wrong sense. And thankfully for my industry, things are changing now. Like when I was growing up, I did not see anyone like me on television. I did not have any representation. So I never saw it as a gendered thing, but that's just me. But there might be like a little girl sitting in her drawing room and watching a adventure television series, thinking that, oh, is this just for white men? Is this something that I can't even think of doing? But thankfully that's changing now, and there are a lot more women, and that's because so many took that leap and decided that, okay, this doesn't need to be like, we need to change things.
I don't think to survive in this world or to be quote unquote successful, a woman needs to become a man. This is no sign of success. Like what you heard, like a lot of times I hear women say things like, no, it's a man's world, you just have to become like that. I get it, I understand. For the beginning few years of my profession, I think I had one gali after every sentence on my mouth, because I couldn't survive any other. I was so rowdy. I was a beautiful, glamorous belly dancer by night and a very, very rowdy, fellow through the day, and I realized it was so important to kind of build this kind of tough exterior to survive, because they wouldn't take me seriously otherwise.
Yeah.
But I think with time and experience, I recognize that in the process of doing that, I lost so much of who I truly was. You lose this essence of who you are, this essence of the potential you can. It's like, you have this goddess sitting inside you, but the goddess inside you is always trying to be a god.
Yeah.
And then over time, and the struggle and the suffering you see, you recognize that oh wow, to get to becoming my inner goddess, I have to go through this suffering.
Yes, absolutely.
So in that sense, everybody goes through suffering. So whether you're a woman and you're being hit by the gender stereotypes, or whether you're somebody poor or you're somebody who's just had a heartache, or in today's time, COVID, anxiety, depression, cancer, I mean, it doesn't stop. It doesn't, I mean, look at the number of young men that are dying from heart attacks. So there is suffering in so many forms, but that's happening because as a collective, we're not holding each other. And so we have to do this for people, for beings everywhere, and go even actually beyond human beings. You have to think about sentient beings everywhere. What can I do to offer alleviation from this suffering? So, I mean, it's going to follow you. The pain and the trouble is going to follow you, because you are going to get old, you are going to get sick, things aren't in your control. You are going to, so you have to face this reality. But if in this journey of suffering, we can offer support, holding, compassion, love, it just makes the horrible roller coaster ride a little bit better.
Makes total sense. Quote. That makes a lot of sense. And you know, the main keyword for me at least was there, that when you said that we have these goddesses amongst, you know, within us, but we try to be gods, and that makes so much sense, because you feel that, okay, to be on the top position you have to like talk like a man and show anger and show the hard side, and you know, kindness is not really supported or encouraged, or okay, did you find
also Batman will always be more popular than Catwoman, always.
That's true.
That's how it is, because we all are looking up to like these masculine archetypes.
That's so
and so
true.
we really have to settle into ourselves and really start looking to worship, to honor, to respect female archetypes, you know, because this is important for the system.
And I think whenever women are mentioned as that archetype, there are different parameters. It's not success that way. It's maybe how she looks, or oh my God, she's so nice to others. But you know, it's always that. It's the parameters of success differ for a woman versus man that way. She's amazing that, you know, she's 40 and she's able to do that. You know, that there's that clause there. So I think that kind of changes a lot of things for us. Like, even I thought that, oh my gosh, my boss is so rugged and so abusive. That's how I want to be when, you know, I grow up. By the way, thank you so much for doing this and taking out time. I'm extremely grateful to you guys, extremely grateful for doing this. And for you also, Gunjan, to wake up. And this is the first call. You start your day with our faces. I'm so glad.
It's a wonderful goddess energy to start the day with.
Yes, just the goddess energy that we need, absolutely. So thank you so much, Siny. You have something to add, you guys? Any parting words, anything?
Meher very beautifully put it, I think, that we become more accepting, more kind, more loving. Sabko ek saath lekar, like we keep moving, you know, ahead together.
The world would like us to believe that women want to fight amongst themselves, because when we're fighting amongst ourselves, then we're not fighting them. So that's why sisterhood and this nurturing. I love what you said about being kind towards each other, being nurturing, because only then we can fight the system, when we, you know, move ahead of that.
Thank you guys so much for being a part, because we're running out of time and taking out this 1 hour.
More power to you, Symbol.
Thank you. More power to all of us. Thank you so much for doing
Yes,
this.
Symbol.
Thanks so much.
And Siny, you just send us a recording of your song, okay? One of your band.
Sure, I'll do it. I will.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so
lovely.
much. It was lovely.
Thank you, Meher, Gunjan, Siny. Thank you so much for doing this. Good night.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you,
Good
Meher.
morning.
Thank you,
Good
Gunjan.
night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Symbol. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.